Comments and be glad to take comments or questions. Comments also, I guess. I guess you get to write comments. I'll leave those. But talk about some legislative actions that I've taken today. First, again, I want to again thank Director Nia Ray and their staff at DOR for working hard to expedite the processing of refunds owed to Missouri taxpayers and overcome the delays caused by flood-related deadline extensions and the continued threat of fraud and identity theft. Following my May 26th directive to get those refunds out the door quickly, the department instituted overtime and used temporary workers to expedite the process. As a result, all individual income and corporate tax refunds that have not been flagged for extra scrutiny have now been paid. Secondly, I'm going to briefly today summarize the bill actions I've taken today, a number of which relate to changes in the tax code. 7 bills received my signature today, including Senate Bill 814, which will create an income tax deduction for Missouri residents who are active members of the armed forces. Members of the military who are stationed out of state can already deduct 100% of their earnings from income. So it's only fair to give the same benefit to our servicemen and women stationed here in Missouri. I also today have signed Senate Bill 794, which clarifies our laws relating to the taxation on medical equipment such as wheelchairs. House Bill 1435 expands the ability for nonprofits and other organizations to receive refunds if they are incorrectly charged sales or use tax. House Bill 1582 deals with withholding tax filing requirements and will allow businesses to file W-2 forms electronically. This is a positive, business-friendly step. Senate Bill 823 contains several provisions, including continuing the state and local sales tax exemption for internet access. House Bill 2381 includes minor provisions relating to mining properties, and House Bill 1717, which includes a requirement that public water systems that intend to add or remove fluoridation from their water supply notify their customers of its intentions at least 90 days prior to any vote on this matter. These are all sensible measures that earn bipartisan support, and I was pleased to sign them into law today. I have also vetoed 8 bills, which would move our state in the wrong direction. From attempting to weaken the Clean Water Commission to making it more difficult for Missourians to be compensated for their injuries, these measures would take our state backwards and should not become law. 3 of these bills, Senate Bill 641, House Bill 2030, and Senate Bill 1025 contain fiscally irresponsible special interest breaks that together would reduce state revenues by as much as $60 million annually. Senate Bill 641 would have created a new retroactive tax cut with no job creation requirements. This would have required the expenditure of about $50 million in refunds next year alone of taxes paid on payments that are specifically intended to replace lost income. House Bill 2030 would have reduced general revenue collections by as much as $10.3 million annually by creating a special interest tax break with no job creation requirements, giving preferential tax treatment for something many businesses are already doing on their own. Senate Bill 1025 would have created a new special interest tax break, once again, without requiring the creation of a single job by exempting classes at businesses like yoga studios and gymnastic centers from sales tax. I've been very clear with members of the legislature about this. I am more than willing to sign tax cuts, as I have today, and as I have in the past, as long as they make good sense for Missouri. But any legislation that's going to further reduce the revenues we have to pay for things like schools, scholarships, and public safety has to meet a high bar. It needs to be affordable, it needs to be targeted, and it needs to serve a clear, justifiable purpose. These 3 measures fail to meet those standards, and as a result, have not gained my approval today. My veto message, which lay out many of the objections to each of these bills in detail, have been distributed to you. I strongly encourage members of the legislature to review these letters, to reconsider their support for these bills. One quick note about the fiscal 2017 budget before I conclude. As the end of the fiscal year approaches, we continue to watch revenues carefully, and I'll be announcing any initial expenditure restrictions on July 6th after the final numbers for the current fiscal year are in. We'll wait till the 6th after we've seen the final numbers for the year because of the Some of the returns happen to be late because of the flood and that sort of stuff. We'll wait till the 6th to announce those initial restrictions. In today's economy, I cannot overstate the value of Missouri's spotless AAA credit rating. Businesses, investors flock to places that offer certainty and stability, and I'm committed to making sure Missouri remains the gold standard for fiscal discipline and responsible stewardship. Thank you, and I'd now be glad to take any questions.
Do you have any idea, even ballpark at this point, how much you may have to restrict?
This has been a hard year to predict. It has two factors that deal with it, Michael. First of all, kind of whether you hit the CRE for the current year you're in. And as we got 3 more days left in this fiscal year, 28, 29, 30. We'll see what comes in there. But I mean, clearly we'll have to restrict some, as I said before. We'll have to do some, but the amount of that will be determined there. But it'll be in the tens of millions, but it won't be. Some years we've had to do much more than that. Clearly, the economy's getting better, and the numbers we're dealing with here are smaller than they have been in other years that I've been here. Not to say that tens of millions is relatively small, but in a budget of almost $9 billion in general revenue and almost 27 total, relatively small.